From its earliest roots in road races and ovals, motorsport has evolved into a rich tapestry of different disciplines and categories. New categories like drifting and virtual racing are being added all the time, and they represent an important new direction for the future.
We've taken on things like live stream. Live stream in the recent years have been the most successful in terms of our ability to reach as many enthusiasts, as many fans as possible, and because of the lack of international barriers, and because we're broadcasting live stream free to air versus a pay-per-view model, we're able to reach any viewer, any country that essentially has an internet connection and a computer.
Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
I was looking at some motorsports channels on YouTube. Typically, 75% of the audience on YouTube will be under the age of 35. So it's a very, very young audience. And it's interesting when you look at two things. First of all, TV audiences. So TV audiences in the developing world are flat, but that hides a very important change in the different demographics. Whereas if you're over 55, over 65, the consumption of television rests roughly the same. Under 35, it has dropped by about 25% amongst under 35-year-olds. So there is a steep decline in television viewership amongst the younger demographic. When did I become a fan of this sport? Was it because you were taken to the game when you were young? Was it because you watched television when there were only 4 channels and that was what you watched? That fandom is determined at a very early age, roughly between the age of 5 and 15. And that age group is less and less on television. If you have children between the age of 5 and 15, ask yourselves, are they on the internet? Are they watching YouTube? Of course they are. But it also goes down to some of the smaller niche sports that are working. Squash, huge on YouTube. Volleyball, there's international volleyball on YouTube at the moment. Anyone interested in rowing? Henley Rowing is available live on YouTube later this month. And the Goodwood Festival of Speed, to bring it back to our motorsport community, is live on YouTube as well. So, whether you're the biggest or the smallest, there is a lot of opportunity there.
Obviously, as I said, you designed quite a few famous liveries. I think you did the Jordan with the snake on the front. And
we actually did the original concept of trying to create a character out of the car. It was sort of somewhat evolved from that, but it was more a product of a brave sponsor and a very loud team principal, and knowing that the two together would be a recipe, a magical recipe, and it turned out to be that. It turned out that the car was something you could create stories around. It was sort of early messaging in that sense. It's very much about not creating a static item, and these days it would probably be even more effective.
It's a sport to give any human being, also young people, the sensation, the thrill of running at a high speed. So at the moment, in some countries, they start at 6. Yeah, I think it is not only based on the age of, let's say, the age in the passport. It's the age, how the size of the people, the physical strength. So, but I think maybe on a local level, like the FIA is doing now with the slalom, 8 to 10 will be fine. And then at our competition, let's say, professional level, it's 11 years old till about 15, and then they move on to the Formula 4, and that would be a good ladder to finally maybe the top. Yeah, but I like to point out that people should also enjoy, so even if they're 45 or even 60, they can enjoy a kart.
Tell us a few home truths about our sport. What are we doing well and what are we doing badly when you look at it just as the head of sport of YouTube and you look at our sport?
At the moment, I would say that other sports are more advanced than motorsports in their engagement with YouTube. I think that other sports are prepared to take more risks, and I think that that is crucial to understanding what works and what doesn't work on the internet and on YouTube. Because even and I've been doing this job for 5 years, and I work with a lot of sports, I don't have all the answers, nobody does. So it's a question of trial and error, seeing what works. When you upload videos, you make content, you put them on YouTube, does it work? If it does, yes, let's make more. If it doesn't, stop, fail quickly, and try something else.
For us, we've said for a long time, we've looked at motorsport and we always said we'll return, but it had to be in the right formula for the right reasons. And Jaguar's always gone about racing right from its beginning to prove new technology. And if you look at the beginning of the Jaguar kind of legacy, we were the first brand to use disc brakes in Le Mans with the C-Type, and we proved it in competition, and we proved it in competition to put onto our road cars. The same with aluminium architectures, the same with aerodynamics. I mean, what was more aerodynamically effective than a D-Type for its
beautiful
time?
Car.
So
beautiful car.
We always use technology to make our road cars better, and that's been the driving kind of force. And it's easy to say, hard to do, but the reality is we looked at motorsport and said, what would be the next best step, the first return after 12 years in the sport? And Formula E was absolutely perfect for that, as far as we're concerned. The timing was absolutely perfect. The initiative that the FIA and Formula E have in place is also, we think, really exciting. It was an early, brave step, and ever since that decision's been made, I think it's all fair to say, and I'm sure everyone in this room would agree, that as every day, as every week goes on, that becomes more and more relevant. Electrification is part of our future. And Formula E was launched at the right time, and it's only becoming more and more relevant as every day goes on. The other element which really appealed to us is that it looked at motorsport and looks at motorsport in a new way, and we're here today to talk about this. And quite a few of the panel have said this. One of the areas is it brings motorsport into the world's major city centres. We believe it's the most accessible form of global motorsport. You don't have to travel 2 hours to go to a track, and we are all passionate motor racers at Jaguar, and we love traditional motor racing as well. But Formula E is brilliant in the context. It brings the racing to fans. It brings it to a new audience for the automotive industry and a new audience for Jaguar. And that was a really exciting element. This is racing in the heart of Paris, in the heart of Berlin, in the heart of London. And that's what's really exciting, a massive game changer. I was in Paris this year, and I've got to be honest, I grew up motor racing. I was born next to Kyle Army racetrack, and for me to be in the center of Paris, where everyone's been trying to have a motor race for decades, Formula E to pull that off was just a perfect example of the strides this championship is making.
They are completely separate. They cannot be more distinctive, the World Endurance Championship and Formula E. But at the same time, they have so many similarities. One of them is where I think the auto industry is moving on, which is towards efficiency. Both of them, you have to have an efficient drivetrain, an efficient car to win races. And for a racing driver, you have to drive efficiently. Driving efficiently is not drive slow. It's the opposite. It's to drive as fast as you can, but with a certain amount of energy that you can consume. And this is very road relevant, it's very actual. And for me, I learned from driving these 1,200 horsepower plus hybrid cars to the 200 kilowatt Formula E. What I learned from one, I can take to another, and has been a great learning for me, and the results are coming. Yeah, well, I think every racing driver which is a professional, it has to behave as a brand. Your name is your brand. And social media is a way of you exposing your thoughts, your idea, your lifestyle, your content for the world. So yes, I have all the channels. I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. And although it's very time consuming, I try to put as much content and get as much follower, because nowadays when I go to a sponsor, the first question asked is how much social media you have.
Really?
How many followers?
You know that there's an audience out there that cares about motorsports, who understand that people can idolize the pinnacles of the motorsport industry. Every element, whether it be somebody playing in an electronic league or consuming content on any kind of social media platform, they're basically just being introduced to what is the wonderful world of motorsport, and hopefully it ignites a passion with them that could have been found, sitting in a car as a child, but it could also be watching a video on YouTube, and hopefully that person then wants to go deeper down the rabbit hole, so to speak, and learn more and get more involved and make that step to saying, right, I want to find out how do I get onto a go-kart track, how do I take it to the next level, and you want to throw that net for all of you as wide as possible, because you want as many people to fall in love with the wonderful world of motorsport as possible, and however they do that and whatever mechanic is used is, the more the merrier.